On last week's video, I gave you a little update on some of the things that the Vacation Bible School youngsters were learning about the mission efforts of the Society of St. Andrew and about how they can be a part of that. And I shared with you the little quiz. I'm going to share with you some of the other slides that we showed to the kids, whether they were our older elementary or even our 2- and 3-year-olds. They all got to see these pictures. But I think that's something that even the grown-ups can enjoy learning about some of the efforts of the Society of St. Andrew. So here are some of the slides we shared with the youngsters. This is from a football bowl game parade in Orlando where the floats are all decorated with citrus. It used to be called the Citrus Bowl. And so you'll have floats with oranges, lemons, limes, tangerines. And you might wonder, oh my goodness, all that fruit's going to waste? Not at all, because the Society of St. Andrew volunteers gather at the end of the parade and get all that fruit off of the floats and have it delivered to families who need fresh food, a great gleaning opportunity. This is a family activity where mom and dad and the kids went out to glean at an apple orchard in Pennsylvania. This is also at an apple orchard. This is at a youth camp called Harvest of Hope, where kids gather to learn about gleaning and food insecurity and what the Bible teaches us about sharing. And then they actually go out and pick apples. One day they went to a feeding center and they used the apples they had gathered to bake fresh apple pie for the folks who came in that day. This is a high school football team in Tennessee that showed up for August practice one day, and instead of practicing on the football field, they went out to a cornfield and spent all morning gleaning corn to help make sure it went to food pantries. These are volunteers that actually go to a farmer's market because sometimes there's extra produce that doesn't get sold, and they just make sure it doesn't get wasted and it is turned around and given to folks who wouldn't be able to afford to buy the produce. This actually took place right down the road in Reiner, Virginia on Thanksgiving Day, where people come out to glean turnips before they gather for their own Thanksgiving dinner. And one volunteer was really surprised when they pulled up on Thanksgiving a turnip shaped like a Thanksgiving turkey. How about that? These are gleaners not on a farm, but in a backyard in Florida. There are so many people that have fresh citrus on the trees in their yard, but sometimes they get way too many. So volunteers come and collect those and then make sure that they get used and not wasted. This was a humorous slide about a volunteer who thought that was the funniest shaped sweet potato she had ever seen, so she made it into a sweet potato mustache there for that picture. And this is also sweet potatoes. This is Farmer Brown, also known as Jason Brown, NFL player for the Rams who retired a few years ago and became a farmer. You might be surprised how he learned to farm. He watched videos on YouTube. And so he has a big farm in North Carolina for which so many charitable organizations receive the produce, and this is a volunteer helping him because they have so many sweet potatoes, they needed volunteers to get them all gathered up. Well, in addition to learning about the great things that happen in the farmers' fields to keep food from being wasted, we also brought it close to home. And, grown-ups sometimes forget this too, so I'm going to remind you what we taught even our youngest of kids last week and some of the important things that we can do to help make sure that food does not get wasted. One of the things we can all learn is to think about how much we put on our plate. Don't put so much on that you realize your eyes were bigger than your stomach and you end up having to throw it away. Put a small amount to begin with and then come back later and get some more. A second thing we learned was about sharing. Just like the farmers do, we also can share. If somebody gives me a big bag of fresh peaches, rather than trying to eat them all at once and making myself sick or waiting too long and having them rot, I can share some of those peaches with my neighbors. So sharing is a great way to do that as well. We also learned about preserving a little bit, knowing that sometimes, especially a fruit or a vegetable that might not last too long, can be cooked or put in the fridge or in the freezer and help it to last longer, and it can even feed us for a longer time. And then knowing eventually there's going to be some things that just don't get eaten. What can be done about that? We learned a little bit about composting, and that's something that's so very important. Some of our kids had already learned about compost. Some of them have compost in their backyard, but we showed them this video about Star City Compost, which is a way that any of us, without having to do it in our own backyard, can make sure that food does not go in the trash, because you see, food in the trash winds up being a huge burden on landfills, and it makes methane gas that helps advance climate change, and it's really not good for the planet. While food that goes into compost winds up being good soil that can be used to grow more fruits and vegetables, so it really doesn't get wasted. God has some great systems for us if we but use it. This little promo was done when Star City Compost first came to town, and they're fully operational now. Watch this video and learn a little bit more about this great effort.
You just ate a delicious meal with your family, and now you're cleaning up. You've heard of composting, but maybe you don't have a backyard, you don't know how, or you just want someone to do it for you. It's cool, we got you. Star City Compost is opening up food waste collection in the Roanoke Valley. In our hometown, 5,000 tons of food waste, first made your trash can really smelly, and then went to the landfill last year. When food waste breaks down in the landfill, it creates methane, a greenhouse gas 33 times more potent than carbon dioxide. It doesn't have to be like that.
I love compost.
We could turn your grubby potatoes, old peppers, and even that week-old chicken into black gold. Fertile compost used to grow more healthy vegetables and fruits locally. And we want your family to be a part of combating climate change, reducing waste, and creating good local resources like jobs and fertile soil. That's why we're building Roanoke City's first industrial compost facility. At capacity, we'll divert 275 tons of food waste annually. Star City Compost will be building food waste drop-off stations in your neighborhoods for you to bring your food waste to for a monthly fee. We're working with business owners to help you go green and save on your dumpster bill. Each year, our facility will produce 2,000 cubic yards of quality compost, reducing our dependency on synthetic fertilizers, which have to be mined and shipped to town. While backyard composting is a great option for some, collecting compost in larger piles is a more efficient way. It gets hotter, killing off pathogens and weed seeds while keeping unwanted critters and smells out of your backyard. Star City Compost is trailblazing a path towards sustainability because future generations depend on the choices we make today. Please visit our website, reserve your membership, and contribute to our efforts. Thank you.